this happened at the highest levels of the Russian government, and I will let you make that determination as to whether there are high-level Russian officials who go off rogue and decide to tamper with the U.S. election process without Vladimir Putin knowing about it.
Accusing Russia's president of intervening in America's democratic process. It's unprecedented in US politics, but then again, a lot was in this election. The US is accusing Russia of hacking Democratic Party emails, including those of the campaign chairman of presidential contender Hillary Clinton, and leaking them to influence the outcome of the US presidential race. Some of the emails revealed that DNC staffers had worked behind the scenes to undermine Clinton's primary rival, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. While thousands of emails stolen from Clinton's campaign chairman John Podesta and leaked to WikiLeaks proved to be embarrassing to a presidential race. The White House has suggested President-elect Donald Trump actively encouraged it.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
But Trump later called the CIA's Russia hacking report a conspiracy theory. Now Trump is expected to face a congressional review about Russia's suspected involvement as soon as he takes office.
I think there is no doubt that when any foreign government tries to impact the integrity of our elections, that we need to take action, and we will, at a time and place of our own choosing.
US intelligence agencies say they have evidence that hackers employed by the Kremlin are to blame. But until now, none of that evidence has been specific or made public. And the tough talk from the White House has fallen flat in Moscow, which has demanded the US provide proof.
Я просто даже, знаете, был ошарашен, когда я увидел эту новость на экране телевизора. Мне даже нечего добавить. Но, по-моему, глупость и абсолютная бесперспективность вот такой попытки кого-то в этом убеждать, по-моему, очевидна.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange says the Russian government was not the source of the email leaks and has offered to help Obama verify the Russian hacking claims, suggesting it be given access to any material relating to Putin's reported involvement. It's not clear what kind of action the US intends to take against Russia, but with Obama leaving office next month and the Democrats trying to pick up the pieces after a shocking defeat, what he does do could set the tone for his party's next 4 years. Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from Hong Kong is Alex Montgomery. He's the Regional Asia-Pacific Vice Chair and Communications Director of Democrats Abroad. And from Baltimore, William Binney, former Technical Director at the National Security Agency. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Bill Binney, let me start with you. It's not just the Democrats who are saying that Russia hacked the election. Even Senator John McCain saying Russia's hacking threatens to destroy democracy and it's an unraveling of the world order. The FBI and CIA also both believe that there's enough evidence. Why don't you believe there's enough evidence?
Because quite frankly, the issue is, to meddle with the election here, the issue is who provided those emails to WikiLeaks. As far as I know, I've seen no evidence from, it really has to come from NSA, because NSA has all this information. They have the worldwide network. They've collected data on the entire worldwide network, and they've got trace route programs by the hundreds sprinkled around all the switches in the world. So they can trace all the packets of data going around and reconstruct where they came from and where they went to. So, I mean, the point is NSA should be speaking up if they've got evidence to show that the Russians passed the data to WikiLeaks, then they should present it. I mean, the other issue is Julian Assange is trapped in the Ecuadorian embassy, and they're watching him like a hawk. He's cast iron cover, I'm sure. So they're looking at everybody he communicates with. So his social network also becomes a main target for WikiLeaks. So they basically have an idea of the extent of WikiLeaks, and they should be watching those people cast iron. And so they should know all this, and they should have it in their databases. If they haven't found it yet, they have to go look. But it's in their databases.
Alex Montgomery, are you convinced by any of that? I mean, here's the man who was the whistleblower at the NSA. Here's a man who knows a thing or two about hacking and leaks.
Absolutely. Well, the 17 intelligence agencies together submitted a statement that Russia was behind the hacks of both the DNC and later of John Podesta. At this point, it's quite clear that Russia was behind this, and the question is not who did it, but what are the implications for us moving forward, and what do we as a nation need to do to make sure that this hack or similar hacks wouldn't affect voters' outcomes in the future?
What if, Alex, it was Russians, but possibly Russians with nothing to do with the Kremlin?
Well, there's a lot of what ifs, and there are two sides to this. The first side is that you could say America lives in a glass house. We depend on the transparency of our government, free press, and a knowledgeable public to be able to have fair elections. And that makes it easy for a state actor or any other actor to affect the outcome if the American public doesn't know how it happened and what's happening. So what's incredibly important is that we have an independent, bipartisan commission to look at this and to figure out exactly what happened. I think you heard from Mr. Binney that he sees no conclusive evidence against it, but that doesn't mean much of anything without a further investigation. And so the first step is to look into it further and to figure out who was behind this. And then there's another set of issues as to what the Trump team knew and the sprawling network of interconnected companies around the world that we know he and his transition team and his cabinet members are involved in.
Bill Binney, when President Obama addressed this issue in his final address, he said, "I told Putin to cut it out." Was that an indication as to the gravity or lack thereof with regards to hacking? So if it did happen, if you have the leader of the free world turning to Vladimir Putin and saying, "Hey, cut it out," doesn't it suggest that even if they did hack, it wasn't sufficient or significant enough to influence the election, at least not in the president's eyes? I mean, you don't just say, "Hey, I told him to cut it out," if it was a major issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the other point is, coming from the intelligence agencies and an intelligence background, the point is you're supposed to prove your assertions. So far, no one has done that. I mean, this seems very much like another WMD assertion by the multiple agencies of the intelligence community. After all, the Central Intelligence Agency said in 2003, before the war, that this is a slam dunk. Well, it wasn't. It was just another assertion that they were making without proving anything. And that's my point. Before we go into another war or create another Cold War, we need to have evidence of what is really true. And so far, our government is not producing it for us to see.
Alex, burden of proof is on those who are claiming that it happened to, bring forward the smoking gun proof. And also, I mean, so we're talking about emails, right? We're not necessarily talking about the Russians hacking the voting machines or the Russians hacking the security systems of people's homes to ensure they stayed home and didn't go out to vote. Hillary Clinton still won the popular vote, right? To what extent are we talking about hacking as well?
Well, let's be clear. First of all, what we are talking about is a
me?
request for an independent investigation. So the questions that Binney raises are valid questions, and those are very much what we need to be looking into. As to did they hack voting machines? No, they didn't seem to hack the vote from what we know. It seems like they tried to hack the voters. And as I said, our system depends on us knowing where our information is coming from and having a fair and transparent election system. What we've seen in this election is that it doesn't. Many people, many Trump voters would have been sitting at home and watching Trump advertisements that showed information that came from these foreign sources, maybe without knowing where this information came from. And that's a really important thing for us to spread to the other American voters. It's not a question of did the Americans make the right choice or the wrong choice, or is this election over? We know Trump will be the president. In 30 days, he will take the office. But the question is, moving forward, what do Americans deserve to know about how this election took place? And what should we do to make sure that we have safe, fair, and transparent elections in the future? So having a transparent and bipartisan commission to look into this, I think, is what you'll hear both Republicans and Democrats looking for.
Bill Binney, how different is any of that to, say, what the Russians already are pushing out via RT, Russia Today, to American homes? Or what the United States does to other countries, whether it's Ukraine or Iran or elsewhere, where they're trying to give voters and others a nudge in the direction of their preferred candidate? Is there any difference?
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't see any difference there. But I'm still stuck with the problem of how many others hacked into the DNC or Hillary Clinton's server or anybody else's server. I mean, after all, they did it to OPM. So, and the Chinese did that, I assume. But you never know. But for sure, the Chinese and every other government in the world is seeking to get intelligence about the United States, and they're going to do it within the resources they have and the capabilities they have. So the issue still is if the only influence that was released publicly for the voters to read about was that data given to WikiLeaks. Now, the issue is still fundamentally who gave the data to WikiLeaks. Now, Julian Assange has asserted it came from basically an insider in the DNC. So, and you can't ignore that DNC insider issue either. So again, if NSA has the evidence to show the data being passed to WikiLeaks from someone in the world, then they should be able to show exactly who did it, and we shouldn't be questioning this. I mean, the real issue is even in the 9/11 Commission, they didn't even touch the NSA data, and that was a big mistake. Because there was a lot of information and data there that they ignored and oversaw. I mean, they just ignored it. And their report didn't deal with any of it.
Right. My final question
So we
for
need
you.
the truth, basically.
And
our government has a tendency not to give us that truth.
Yeah, we need truth. Indeed. Alex, your window might drop out any second now. I hope it doesn't, but I have one final question for you. Last month, the Democrats seemed to be going through the soul searching. We didn't appeal to the Rust Belt. We missed out on middle-class voters, on white working-class voters. We need to look at ourselves and fight for the next 4 years. This month, the argument seems to be Russia did it. We were robbed. Aren't you a little concerned that the Democrats are getting consumed by paranoia instead of dealing properly with the challenges ahead over the next 4 years?
No, I'm not consumed because I don't think that's what the Democrats are really working on. I think we are set now to look at Trump administration and his appointments to his cabinet and the role that he will play along with the Republican Congress moving forward. So we are now looking at what do we need to do as the alternative party? How can we show Americans a better way forward? How can we show them that a rubber stamp on a Trump agenda is not what's best for the American public? And that's what you'll see Democrats doing. Now, all this fits in together with this Russian hack because one of the things that needs to happen is there can't be a rubber stamp Congress who is afraid to stand up to Trump just because he's afraid that it might be a little uncomfortable to have an investigation into this. So we're going to stand firm, we're going to stand strong, but we're really looking forward at what we can do for the American people and making sure that our agenda is providing an alternative to a rubber-stamped Trump, Putin-friendly Congress.
Alex Montgomery and William Binney, it's been a pleasure talking to both of you. Thank you very much for joining us on the Newsmakers.